Welcome again, everybody. And today we're going to be answering some questions that have been sent to us by different people. I don't know what the questions are, which is really good. So hopefully I won't muck it up too much.
I've put together all the questions that we've been asked recently through emails. People have been emailing in, which is great. And we like it when people do that, so carry on doing that. And we thought we'd answer them all in one go and put the answers up for people to see. You ready?
Yeah, go for it.
I think about knives and forks this time.
All right. Really? Okay, good. I'm happy.
All right, this is the first one. In what dimension do the Zetas exist?
Okay, so this is the Milky Way galaxy. We exist as humans, all of us, in our solar system. The Zetas are also three-dimensional beings, just as we are. It's just that they live in a different time reference, and not in the future, not in the past, but in a time frequency that is much faster than ours. And so quite often when people see craft moving around in and out really fast, that's to do with a process called time compression. But we've talked about that in another video.
Yeah. I think it's also worth saying, I think people get confused about the whole dimension thing because, of course, the Zetas are able to exist in many, many different ways. But just because they're existing in many, many different ways doesn't mean they're any less 3D, solid and physical than we are now.
I think that's really easy to explain, especially from a human perspective. You have consciousness.
Yeah.
You also have the ability to lay down, meditate, and then astral, and then leave your physical body and move around. Would you then say that a human being was third, fourth, fifth dimensional entity? From a conversation viewpoint, yeah, absolutely. You could say that.
Yeah.
The difference is that we're all operating under a different time process. Humans generally see time as a linear process, and not all people, obviously. Whereas the Zetas see time in a different type of way. It's not linear at all.
Yeah. Okay, this is a big one. Why do the Zetas abduct people?
The Zetas probably don't abduct people. Actually, they don't abduct people. But there are 63 races of what you would say the grey species, and one of those races we know as the abductors. And of course, we have seen many people state that they are being abducted. The Zetas actually intervene with that process if they are asked to, which has happened this week as well, and they will generally either minimise or stop an abduction process for a person as well. The Zetas contact their own, and if that means that you're being contacted and trying to understand the contact, then at that point you probably do feel like you're being taken. But the reality is that they're trying to work through a three-dimensional system that we understand as a construct, and they're understanding that they're contacting their own, and there's a big difference there. Just let me say as well, I work with a lot of contactees, a lot of abductees, and that the most difficult thing at this point for people to understand is how to bring it all together. How do I understand what I'm going through, and how do I then move past that? I've had multiple people this week say to me, how do I move past this? What does this mean for me? And I think that's where, unless you've really developed into a situation where you've got a lot of contact with the beings, they're talking to you, and not voices, but they're talking to you in a way that you can evidence, that you can understand, that is actually meaningful to you, then a lot of the information that you get is probably going to be quite difficult to work out. What is a screen memory? What is an actual event that took place? What is something that your mind may have created as well, or what was a dream as well? So it's not, it is, although with spirit people, I think generally it's pretty black and white in regards to contact. The extraterrestrial phenomenon is not black and white, and it's not ever going to be black and white. And I think that's something that we all need to try to get our heads around.
And you use the expression there, they only visit or take their own. And I can imagine people are saying, what do you mean by that? Yeah,
well, you came from somewhere. That's the question, isn't it? You came from spirit realm, or you came from somewhere else, incarnated into a physical form, living your life in this physical form, and then you go back to somewhere. Now, I think I've said this before, but only two conditions are able to exist. Either there is source consciousness, and people may know that as God, and that source consciousness created all of the universes and also controls how the reincarnation process takes place. Or through chaos, there is no source consciousness, and we're all here as a random act. And I think that that's the problem, is if it's a random act, then humans generally shouldn't exist. You shouldn't be able to incarnate each time, remember past lives, these sorts of things. And that's why I very much go with source consciousness, and that's what's creating everything.
Okay, so that leads on to the next question quite nicely. And why are they here? Why are the Zetas here?
They've seen that humans have created a pathway for themselves that have alerted other races that they exist on this planet. And that happened when humans started to send out signals and technology from the planet. People keep thinking that it's all about sending out some sort of formal communication process, but it's like the neighbours that play loud music. They don't need to introduce themselves. You already know that they're there.
Yeah.
And so this is what's happened. This is why they've been working with this planet for many, many, many years.
So it's all good intentions.
From the Zetas, absolutely. It's all very good intentions.
Yeah. And I think that that's one common theme that we seem to hear all the time, is when people are talking about aliens and alien races and what their motives are, people generally talk about them as a whole collective, forgetting that there's actually goodness knows how many races out there, and that all races will have their own agendas, all acting differently with different ways of doing things, just like people.
Well, if there's one planet in every galaxy that exists, there's the potential for 200 billion races to exist across the universe.
It's a lot of races.
It's mind-boggling.
Do the Zetas understand and feel love?
Yes, absolutely. They do. They do feel love for each other and for their children, their own children, and also for the humans that they work with as well.
And going back to the humans that they work with are?
Generally beings from their own planet. But that doesn't mean that Zeta is the only ones that are incarnating. There's a lot of races that are incarnating into the planet and other planets as well.
And do they help people?
I believe that they have certain criteria for helping people, and the criteria must be met. So the criteria may be that it's based around free will. That first thing, you must want to be helped. And I mean on a full level, conscious, subconscious level. You must have a mind that equates to stillness, that you have spent time meditating and seeking to find healing within yourself, that you've activated your self-healing mechanism. So for the Zetas, they don't interfere with people's healing, and they work a lot to dealing with humans. All of the animals are now barking and howling because of the Zetas.
The next question was, is
I don't know if you can hear that, but they're going crazy.
under what? I've just seen somebody walk down the stairs over there. Under what law do the Zetas operate?
Under the law of free will. And people would go, well, why do they then come and supposedly contact or abduct people? They're only contacting their own. It's like myself, when I first was being contacted, and when you were being contacted as well, you didn't understand why you were being contacted and looked like that you were being taken against your free will.
Certainly felt like it.
Yeah, it certainly does feel like it. But I think once you work through that, you realise that that's not what's happening at all.
And lastly, what is their message?
You are more. That you are more, and that you have the potential to be more. That if you just look inside and see that you are a being of consciousness, then you are more. That's it.
Carry on sending you questions in.
Right.